Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, and today I'm hanging out with Nerdicus 10 and Ted and special guest Eric Brown from Gnomeworks. And you actually have I want to congratulate you because you have a very successful Kickstarter going on right now as we speak for premium dice box, dice trays. I don't, it says dice box, but it's so much more than that. And of course, guys, you can find the links in the description. We're also giving away a custom Nerdarchy Gnomeworks box that Ted is holding up right now, and I will click to him so you guys can see. And as you can see, it has the Nerdarchy right in there, so that's really awesome. We want to thank you for sending that to us, Eric.
Sure.
And so they're really nice. So how did this come about?
Well, I mean, I was like everybody else playing D&D at my local shop. It's Geek Life, and I'm sitting around and we're all playing. You know how you kind of goof off a little bit during the session, and the actual one of the players was setting up his dice, and I had watched him do this probably at least 15 sessions. He's just, he just sets up, and those kind of people, you either put the dice and you're just dragging them out of the bag, or you have it all ready to go. This guy always has it ready to go, very organized. And then Chaos Carl is what I call him. Basically, he's a little bit more of a free spirit, and he decided to knock over the dice. And it was funny. Everybody laughed, and well, of course, Andy didn't, but. Everybody else laughed. And so, it didn't really register with me that much. It was just like one of those things that, what's the next goblin we need to kill type thing. And he did it again. And when he did it the second time, all of a sudden my brain just, I'm kind of a problem solver. So it just kind of went off in my brain and says, hey, you should, if he had a tray that held his dice, like he set them up, that wouldn't happen. And so that's where it started. And so I went home and bought a router and hacked away at a box, or not even a box. It was just basically a tray. And as I did that, it kind of just one thing led to another. I had to go pick up some better equipment and different things. And then basically I made these little trays. And the trays themselves, here, I'll show you real quick. Basically the trays look like, nope, they look like this one. And because this was just, that one's actually deeper at this point, but it's just a little shallow tray. And I gave everybody one at the table and said, hey, try this out, see if you like it. And it was just as a kind of like just a thing that you do for, your friends. And one of the players came back to me a few sessions later and said, it would be nice if it had a top. Because if it had a top, I wouldn't have to put it back in my bag. I wouldn't have to put all the dice back in my bag. I could just have it there. Once I set it up, it wouldn't be a big deal. And so I said, okay. So I went home and, made a top, which is basically the same thing as the bottom. And, I had to figure out the math behind it. But, basically it's enough to fit your normal dice in. And, had to get the magnets, which are rare earth magnets. And so I gave everybody one of these boxes. And, we had a druid in the party, and she was always tracking different things. She was tracking her spells. She was tracking, we all track our hit points. And she tracked her beasts, or basically nature shift, the shifting to animal shift and all that. And then I kind of watched her, because I watch people as they play, is what I do, as well as play. And I said, you know what? It just kind of rolled around in my head of like, there may be a way for me to make some type of tracker to make it a little bit easier. And that's where the trackers came from. Once I made the trackers, which were actually a longer tracker than this, I gave it to them and they started using it and they gave me feedback of what they liked and what they didn't. And I said, okay. And I first made the spell tracker, and then I made the hit point tracker just as because everybody uses hit points, and no matter what RPG game you play. So not everybody uses spells, even though 5e is much more. I mean, you become a magic initiate, and then all of a sudden you have a few spells. So, but in general, to do that, I handed it out to everybody, and then realized I should probably put it inside the box. So that's where ultimately the large one came from. And so I made the tracker shorter and smaller. And once I did that, put them up inside. And when I put them up inside, I realized I had a dice tray, a dice rolling tray. So that's kind of the master box that you see in front of, or what I sent y'all is what it came up to be.
So what I like about the the trackers, as you call them, I mean, you've got plenty of room for expansion on hit points. You can really get up to 599 hit points, which is much more than any standard player character is going to deal with. And I love the happy face, the sad face, which I'm assuming was originally designed for your death saving throws, because there's 3 of each. But that could be used for other things, channel divinities and that kind of stuff, should you want to go in that direction. Or you could have that being, down here in your, your just random, what's that, 10 spots there.
10.
So you could do with that as you will. So I kind of assume that was your option, or just, well, this is where I'm going to put my your little metal weights, spheres, whatever you want to call them, that you take out of your spell slot. So I really like the setup here. It's open, it's versatile. So I pretty much dig everything about these guys. And you say that on the Kickstarter page that you have the option of putting dice and or minis sized appropriately, that I can literally just throw a dude right in there and he's going to fit just as well as dice. So it's a happy thing to be able to do. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to throw this, snap it all together, toss it in my bag. It's not going to fall apart. So everything I need to play my character beyond the sheet is right there.
Now, one of the things is I need to I guess, you would need to take out one of the trackers and put in the foam. We're getting ready to hit 20,000 in the Kickstarter, and when we do that, I'm going to add foam to everyone. And so you could take out one of the trackers, and that's how you're going to get a mini in there. If you try to just put a mini in there without, that mini may work, but a lot of minis are a little bit larger. Like one of the ones I have is a little bit larger, and it doesn't fit with the 2 trackers as well as. So since it doesn't fit, if you take out, and most people will take out their hit point one, is what my guess. If because the spell one is really, once you use it and you're working with 20 spells or 15 spells, it is amazing. You're casting, you're getting it back. It's just like it gets crazy pretty quick, and it's a nice, concise way to look at it. But if you put the foam in instead on one of the trackers, you will be able to get basically a lot of the minis in there.
So
nice.
I'm thinking like about your story and how this came about and how you gave them all to the different players in your game. And you're playing at a store, right?
Yeah, actually, I had 2 different games at the time. Unfortunately enough, I'm only doing the one at my house at this point, but I was doing it at Geek Life, which is in Houston, Texas, and that's where it really started. That's where Andy was, which is the guy who set up his dice and rows, and he was actually on the video, the Kickstarter video. So
how long did it take before people started wandering over your table, going, "Hey, what's that?"
We're actually in the back room. We're a little bit older, and so some of us are a little bit harder of hearing, and so we actually are not up in the front area where the other 3 groups were. We were in the back area, so very few people would wander back to us. But when they did it, they would all look around because everybody had the little box in front of them, right? And they go, "What's that?" And I remember one guy, because I actually, as I gave out new prototypes, I would take the older prototype back so I could, reuse the magnets and different things. And I had them up on the shelf behind me. And some guy goes over to it and, "Well, how much is this?" I was like, "Oh, that's not for sale." We're just testing these out. He's like, really? Well, here, he gave me his phone number and everything. And you know, I had other people that were just looking at him and like, hey, I'll give you, yeah, I want one of those. And I said, well, I'm coming out with Kickstarter. So, you know, that was basically where it went. So just to answer your question, it probably took about a month or two.
And
Nice.
have you always been a woodworker, or were you like, hey, I know, I'm going to go get a rotor and a chunk of wood?
That's exactly what I did.
It's a router, Dave.
Yeah, I
don't even know what I
basically, all of that just came
You
from
said rotor.
Basically, I've never had done woodworking. Now I have done other crafts. So, you know, it isn't like I'm totally unfamiliar with scissors and, you know, how to make stuff, but no, I'd never done woodworking, and just sat down and said, you know what? I felt like I had to do this, and I can't explain why. It's just,
I have to say, you know,
I'm
I have to say
impressed.
that you know, these things, you know, look, you know, professionally done, and you know, I mean, you've got the wood burning in there. You know, there's not any issues. So like, had somebody asked me, I would have said that there had to be a rich history of woodworking. So you've blown me away with that surprise answer. I was like, oh yeah, he probably did wood shop in high school, you know, maybe even before, and then, you know, kind of did stuff after the fact because there was still that love. No, you surprised the heck out of me with that one.
you know, my best friend, he actually took woodworking for 4 years, and he you know, has some of the product, and he was upset with how fast I picked it up, and I was just like, yeah, sorry, you know.
I have to kind of agree with your friend a little bit. I'm like, I hate this guy so much. Not even fair. Like Ted said, we expect to figure out you're a woodworker or a carpenter, something, but no, you're just like, you know, I just went and picked up some tools, a block of wood. How hard could it be? Because they really are gorgeous. Ed Does Everything has a question for you. How do you source your wood, specifically the African mahogany?
Well, in Houston, which is, I think, the 4th largest city in the United States, we have 2 major hardwood stores that, you know, do a whole lot of business. So I go to both of them, look at either raw wood or one that's already S4'd, which means that they've shaved on all the sides. So I basically pick it from either raw and then shave it down myself, or I pick up boards that are already shaved.
So if you don't mind my asking, and you Sure. can say, you know, I'm not going to share, how many hours worth of work goes into a single box? Start to finish. You've got the wood. You got to do all the sanding, the cutting, the, you know, putting in the trays, the staining, the burning, in whatever order things get done.
Right. You know, I had estimated 4 hours. I know it's probably taking 10. Yeah. So I am getting better. And as you get better tools, you know, to get it done quicker, it does help. But it takes 2 weeks from the first cut to the final product.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not. Wow. But, you know, I guess the easiest way to put it is I'm a perfectionist to a certain extent, which is,
and it shows. It shows.
Customer. Great for them. Sucks for me. Because I'll almost finish something and I'm looking at it going, no, I don't want to send that out. Let me figure out. And then I find this tool that's, you know, $300 and it'll fix this thing, you know, that type of stuff. It's just like, whatever, you're killing me.
So as it stands, I'm estimating you only have about 73 days working straight and you'll be done.
Yeah. I mean, the fact is that once we hit 18,000, I actually doubled my, I added another CNC machine, which helps. So I can produce a little less than 2 boxes a day, but my guess is around 2 boxes a day. So I've sold about 100 plus boxes.
177.
But not all of them are boxes. Some of them are just, some people just went with trackers and stuff. But
that's true.
you know, and the trackers take a less time to produce, but yeah, it's one of those things. Actually, as soon as I put up the Kickstarter, I started working on boxes, and so I've been producing and working like on boxes. And as you sometimes you'll see on my Kickstarter that I have like pictures of things that I'm producing, but I'm working on a lot of the artisan boxes, which is the most expensive top tier. It's $250, but I spend about $100 on the wood a lot of times. So, you know, a lot of times I have to source that outside of the of my city, because I'll like Coca-Cola was one of the ones that they picked, and I went to both stores here in Houston, and I didn't like any of the Coca-Colas. But you know, wood. So I'm like, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. You know, so basically, I had to go and pick it up and source it in. So I don't know if y'all said.
And the other,
I'm sorry.
And the other thing about that is, you know, beyond, you know, time and travel, you have to factor in that, God forbid, you know, if you're working with, you know, one of these, you know, more precious woods, what happens if you make a mistake?
I eat
You
it.
know, you might have to. Well, what I'm saying is like that needs to be factored in, you know, to the overall, you know, cost of the job, is that you might have to, you know, go get more, you know, more material.
Right. Just to show you real quick, I went out of screen for a minute because I wanted to show you. This is the Coca-Cola that I picked. So
It's beautiful.
It goes from a very light color all the way to a black. So, I mean, you know, and I helped pick the board. This one's actually zebra wood, which I've never seen before. It looks like spalted, which I thought was interesting. This one's the one that I'm currently working on. As you can tell, the sides aren't shaved yet, like this one is.
Awesome.
This one is the first coat. But these are like the boxes that you know, kind of add to, you know, you're making the cherries, you're making the walnuts, you're making the standard. I actually provide 6 different woods for the same price. Some of them cost me double than the others, but at the same time, I wanted to make it simple, because I've done Kickstarters before, meaning I've been a patron, and I've gotten confused sometimes. It's like, you know, they have so many different rewards and trying to figure it out. So I tried to keep it simple, and at the same time, you know, I try to treat people as I would want to be treated. I'm an older, you know, that type of. So I tried to, you know, give y'all, especially since it was just the start. The Kickstarter is actually, I haven't sold anything until the Kickstarter, basically. And with that, you know, you're helping me pay for my equipment that I already purchased and all that. So I'm giving it extreme good discounts for what, because if I actually had to do this at even minimum wage, you know, I could, you know, it takes a while. It's probably around 10 hours a box is what it comes out to be.
So how do you feel? Because we were talking a little bit beforehand, and you really come from more of a business, professional, sales background. So now you're really, you're working with your hands, more blue collar. Did you know before you started doing this that there was something you were going to enjoy and wanted to do? You know, has the whole process been a process of discovery for you? So what has that been like?
This is, you know, I just turned a little over 50, or right at 50 this year. And I've always loved D&D. I've always loved gaming to a certain extent. And, you know, when your career kind of, you know, goes the, you know, winky wonky or whatever you want to call it, basically, I sat back and went, I think I want to be around these people. I want to make a career around these guys. And so I still have all my fingers, you know, it's not like one missing. So, but you have to be very careful around the machinery. I didn't say that, oh, I want to do woodworking. It really came down to, I want to work or be around gamers. And so from that standpoint, I'm hoping to make this, you know, a full-time thing and give them a high quality product for, you know, a reasonable price.
So we got a question here in the chat. Jacob wants to know, are you making them all yourself? Are you working with the team?
No, I'm making them all myself.
So I guess what I'm really asking is, like, so, you know, you decided you wanted the end product and that's why you're doing it and you want to work around gamers. But so is it, So I've personally done plenty of jobs around my house, and I've worked in construction, and I've done different things. And literally, when I get something done, I don't look back and be like, "Oh my God, look what I did! This is so amazing!" or "I'm so happy." And I know, like, some people get a lot of satisfaction from doing that. I'm always just glad it's done and I don't have to do it anymore. So that's what I'm asking. How do you feel about the process of doing it?
The problem with being a perfectionist is that every time I look at my product, I see the mistakes. No matter, so it's kind of like I get it as good as I can, but I'm not. The problem is like whether I was doing cross stitch or painting or whatever I was ending up doing, I will walk by. My wife wanted me to paint a room or something like that. I see all the places that I messed up. That's what I see. And it's sad, but my wife thinks it's beautiful, which is great. Hey, but at the same time, that's so really, yes, right now I'm very not nervous, but I want to meet the delivery deadlines that I've put forth, which are, and once they're over, I'll be able to relax and breathe. So to a certain extent, I'm kind of like you. It's like, okay, I got that done. And I already have some other ideas for, different designs and moving forward. But
well, that actually answers my question. I was going to ask, like, do you have other things, expounding upon the idea that you want to, kind of make Gnomeworks be the job. I was going to say, do you have anything further in the works? Fergal in the comments wants to know, like, do you have any plans to make a bigger one that's specific for the DM? And people are already commenting, "Oh, I hope so. I'd buy one."
I kind of wanted to tip my hat to the people that already were out there, and just as I don't want them to sit there and look at my trackers and then start to make a knockoff, I really don't want to do that. Wormwood. I always talk about Wormwood because I have some of their products. I think they have excellent craftsmanship. They have some good products out there, but I think it's a lot more related toward the DM. They just did that Kickstarter with the DM screens and stuff. I personally don't DM, and I like to, like, if I'm going to come up with an idea, I like to actually sit down and do it. So that means, like, I want to produce another tracker, let's say for Star Wars. I want to go play Star Wars. I want to go whatever it is, and I want to go do that, and then kind of in my head, it just sits back and rolls around until I come up with a design. So I've DM'd, but that's not my cup of tea.
You gotta basically, when you're playing a game, look at what resources are being used and see how to apply it. And along the same lines, though, like, we know that D&D is considered the biggest tabletop RPG that's out there, so therefore there's going to be a bigger crowd with that. While there is a good crowd that's playing the current iteration of the Star Wars RPG, I wonder whether this is something that would actually appeal to them. There is definitely stuff to bring. There's definitely dice. There's definitely things like armor and stats that can go down, but I wonder if it's the same kind of breakdown.
And I don't know that answer, truthfully. So that's the easiest way to go. I don't know. I mean, I haven't crossed that bridge yet. So,
well, I have a small recommendation for you.
Sure.
And that is the focus on the appreciation that you see on the faces of the people that you hand these to, because I can't imagine anyone is going to get one of these boxes and not be happy. Because look, they look amazing, and like it's not really my thing. Like, I'm very minimalist, so all the trackers and stuff isn't really something I would probably use, but I do have players that do. I have players that are already doing this. They get like different colored beads and rocks and different things, and their character has to have a special set of dice just for that character. So those people are definitely out there, and now they don't have to come up with it, because then now they can just open a Gnomeworks box, and like all that stuff is already there. All that tracking that they're doing, they can use that for.
I'm certain that there's going to be people who will want a box per character that'll hold their mini, hold the character specific dice, have the things inside that, is for that character, and be like, okay, well, I'm gonna, go grab Bob Smith the mage, and they take that off the shelf, verify that it's the right box, and off they go. They might, as they would theme the dice for the character, they might buy specific dice, or sorry, specific box, be it, color or wood combination, to say, okay, well, that fits that guy, so I'm going to use that one.
I mean, I think that would be great. It's one of those things that, the more that it's kind of one of those things that I want, 25, 50 years from now, that you're either passing it down or giving it to somebody else, that type of thing. And people, because I've always been into antiques. So that kind of, I think, adds to I want a longevity product, and not made out of plastic.
So Sean Orwin has a question, but I already kind of know the answer to this one. How about incorporating a tracker or something else into the underside of the lid? Well, the underside of the lid is actually a dice box, a dice tray. So when you open it up, you flip it, you take out the trackers, and the reason they come out is so that you can have a dice tray to roll in.
Right. And the fact is that what I was thinking of is maybe coming up with different trackers based off of feedback from the public of like what they would like to see. And I'll design, somebody asked me for Pathfinder spells, because that actually has 3 times as many spells as 5e. And I designed something, and I have a prototype on my Kickstarter that I may add as an add-on. So you can just have a gnome work box, and then just have different trackers for what you're playing.
So Alan Adventures asked, how do you integrate design, usefulness, and portability into your work?
It's partly a feeling. I mean, it was kind of one of those things when I said, oh, I'll put the trackers inside. As soon as I finished that first, prototype of the box, that one I said, I can go on Kickstarter now. So it's something that rolls around in my head, and I kind of sketch stuff out, which I'm terrible at drawing, but I draw stick figures, that kind of thing. But, I can sit down with the program, because I've always dealt with computers. I'll sit down with the program and kind of play with it, and then, kind of measure stuff and kind of get an idea from that standpoint. I think that's what, I don't know if I answered the question right or not. But.
I feel you did, and I also feel like if you just look at you look at the boxes, like that's all incorporated in there. You definitely figured it out. It all fits nicely, including the little bar. Like when we were opening it up and showing it, that's what people are asking. It's like, what is that wand for? What is that? Well, and it just holds things in place.
Yeah, that's actually a funny story. I thought of, and I over-engineered first. I thought of like putting a spring and having, because you think of a shower curtain, the rod. That's kind of what I thought from the very beginning. And then I started looking and trying to figure stuff out, and I have to be economical, right? I could actually design something that was very petite and possibly could break, and you end up like seeing what you can find and how you can make it. And that I called it the rod of immobility, just as a joke. But you can twist it. You can twist it out a little bit because actually there's room on either side of it for the plastic. It's kind of soft rubber, and so you can pull it out if it gets too and starts dropping the trackers. So I just. It's like when you're working with stuff and you just all of a sudden it works. It's like, oh, that worked. Okay, good. So
now I have a really important question.
Sure.
Has Andy beseeched you for maybe traps for his box?
For traps?
Yeah, for the guys that mess with his dice.
Oh, no. He's really easygoing. And now that everybody has a box at the table, it kind of cut that out. Yeah. There was other things that you would do then to mess with another character. So
they had to improvise. So yes. We were at the halfway mark. So let's jump in the roll call, guys. sound off where you're coming from, where you're hanging out at. And while we're waiting for that to kick in, Eric, so how old were you when you first started gaming?
Oh, well, I came from a very religious background, so it was taboo. So I never was able to. It was a college, actually. I was probably 19, and my roommate in summer school, he all of a sudden brought out a book, right? And it was the original, D&D book, and I saw it, well, AD&D, and I looked at it, and he goes, I said, "You play D&D?" Because I was always interested in, since we were religious, Narnia and those types of things really incited my interest. And so I enjoyed that, I guess, a fantasy background. And so when he saw that, when I saw him, I said, "Well, can I play?" And so we set up a little dwarf thief. And the first few sessions, I was a terror. I would just open up a door. I had a paladin somewhere. He could go kick their butt. So I have very good memories, but it was actually not until college before I started playing.
So you attempted to risk your soul all for the D20. So I'm going to jump into the chat here and see where people are calling from today. We got Todd in Dallas. Got some more Dallas with Ed Does Everything. Doug's rocking out in Cleveland. We got Quate in the house with Poison. Pittsburgh with Paul. Frigginator is laying in bed, and he's somewhere in Washington. We got John in Denver. Patrick is in Sweden. We got Circleville, Ohio in the house with Geek in Undies. Fergal's in Ireland. Eureka, California is in the house with we got to jump. Kirkish001. Kristen is in the house from Reading, England. We've got Lincoln from Sweden. Santa Barbara, California with Sean. Our friend Jose Suarez from Tampa, Florida. I got to run a game for him. Shallender is in Rio Rancho, New Mexico. Fort Lauderdale, Florida with Sean. We've got Jacob in Monroe, Louisiana. We got Jason with some more Dallas in the house. We got Redmond, Washington with Beamer RSQ or Beamer SRQ. We got Alan Adventures in the house in the Philippines. Awesome. Regilio is in Utah. Next Level 88 is in Philly for PAX. Nice, brother. Look for me. I will be over there today. We've got Salem, Massachusetts with Comrade 2261. Lopez Island, Washington, AJ Kinney. Finland with Frostglade. We got Minnesota, Evil Silly Putty. We've got Sacramento, California with Satori Shin. Steven, more Dallas. Dallas is representing today. We've got Jason wishing I was in Ireland instead of Texas. So Texas is hardcore. We got like too much Texas in here. Some of you guys are going to have to leave.
No. We're not going to kick anybody out. But you brought up PAX, so we will throw out there that anybody that's listening in the not so distant future, Nerdarchy is representing at PAX. There's been some changes to the plan, but you will be able to look out for us, and not at a booth, but wandering, possibly looking at some events.
Due to some unforeseen events, Open Legend will not be having a booth this year like they're supposed to. So we will not be booth bearding as we were going to, but we will be beards on the go. So you guys can look for us. If you see us, come up to us, hugs, shake our hand, whatever you want. You want us to sign something? I think we got Ted has stocked us with Sharpies.
Yeah,
and as always,
currently in your trunk.
Ted, tackle him.
No, don't tackle me. It's in short supply, but I do have a couple things left over from the Nerdarchy sponsored Dungeon Crate. So if you happen to see me, give me a shout out. My plan is I will be wearing my Nerdarchy hat as well as my Nerdarchy armor. You'll have to see what that is at PAX. But yeah, so I've got some dice bags and I've got some pins.
Not me. For me, you got to pass your perception check because I will just be in regular clothes. Just look for the beard. Although, when I've gone to both Origins and Gen Con, there's at both places, at least, a couple of people's like, I spotted the beard from across the room.
There's on your mission, Dave. He's now trying to get people to challenge me to a duel.
Oh, nice. Sometimes I feel like I could just send the beard off to these events and I can stay home. But yeah, so that should be a lot of fun. And you were talking about you're going to be doing your first con in the near future. You're planning on it anyway,
Right.
Is that something you want to talk about, or?
Well, sure. I mean, I've it's called Alcon, which is at Rice University in Houston. It's a smaller one, but at the same time, I think it's in February sometime. I've turned in and requested to be a vendor there. We'll see.
Please tell me they have the slogan of "Take me away" because it sounds exactly like Calgon.
Don't know.
They do need a wordplay on that. That would be great.
So, and then I think PAX South. I may just show up there. I really don't know yet what's going to happen on that. So
you had talked about going away from gaming. Like many of us do, work gets in the way, or family life, all that stuff. But you came back to gaming. Was it 5e that brought you back?
Actually, no. It basically what happened. What happened is I'm at a friend's house, a coworker that I worked with for many years, and her son walks in, and basically said something about D&D that he DM'd or whatever. And he used to DM a long time ago. I knew that, but he was actually doing a session. And I started going back, reminiscing like the old fart I am, about, I remember when, And so I told him all these crazy stories. And he goes, well, I have a session going. Why don't you come play? And it was, even though 5e was out, he was playing 3.5. So, I said, okay, I'll try it. And got some of the books and different things and got into it. And that's really where it started. But when I wanted to get into another game because his was playing maybe once a month, I think. So I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was, it was a lot of time in between. So I went to my local gaming store, and that's where I first ran into 5e, and I fell in love with it. It was kind of like, it was simple. It made sense. It wasn't like, how do you max min your character? And, then this little tiny, you almost need to be a rules lawyer on some of this stuff. And instead, I'm the kind of guy that likes to come in and not know what your character can do. If you're a barbarian, I don't know what you can do. I get to see that in live action type thing. And I enjoy that more, just learning my character and not really learning everybody else's, which is probably another reason why I don't like being the DM, is because you have to know everybody else's as well as you have to know all the monsters, and then it gets into metagaming and different things like that. I remember the first time I ran into a troll. And, you're hitting the troll and everything, and all of a sudden it's coming back, and its wounds are healing. And I'm like, what the hell? And finally the paladin goes, burn it with fire. And it's like, oh, okay. So, but you remember that's part of what, in my opinion, it's all about. It's all about those memories of like the first time you ran into something that regenerates. The first time, that type of stuff is what is amazing to me. And I know that people who play a lot, they may lose some of that, first time you open up the box, type thing. So, but I love 5e. It's simple. And, it actually kind of gets what, the fireball is a little bit stronger than what it should be, but everybody knows the fireball. They did things like that and did the game design, I thought was very well done. And I think it's brought a lot of people back. But yeah, actually, no, it was just somebody who was actually doing a session, and I said, okay, yeah, I'll do it again.
That's awesome to hear. I only ask because I know a lot of people that have come back to the hobby with 5e, whether it's coincidence like yourself or specifically because this game just kind of spoke to them. And there's like, no matter what edition you've played of D&D, there's a certain amount of familiarity that 5e offers. Yeah. So I think that's like one of the nice things. And you're right, like when the designers were making 5e, they're like, yeah, Fireball is better than all the other third level spells because, well, it's Fireball, and you know, and they kind of took some game balance things like that and said, you know what, we're not going to worry about it, and so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I think that's because I played 1, I played a lot of 2, I played 3, 5. I remember when 3 came out, and you know, we sat down and started to play, and I didn't understand why this D20 was so important. You know, I remember that, and then all of a sudden, what, you don't want a negative armor class, you want a you know, that type of thing. It's kind of like, okay, you're killing me. So I got away from it, and then when I came back to 3.5, it reminded me of a lot of the, you know, max min type stuff, and you had to know so many different rules, and then there was this little variation here and there. So when I got to 5, it was just a breath of fresh air. It was more about, you know, the gameplay and the, you know, the storytelling and that type of stuff. And that's, I guess, I love tactics. I mean, I think I'm pretty good with tactical stuff. So I enjoy the minis. I enjoy the battle grid. I enjoy figuring out if you're half cover or not. But at the same time, you know, you may do a 6-hour session and have one battle. The rest of it is much more, you know, how does this work out and how do you solve this problem without actually going to war? So
we got a really cool comment in the chat that I just want to highlight because the chat goes away after we're done. So Jason Spurlock, my 70-year-old father who never played D&D in his life is now hooked on rolling the dice. That's friggin' awesome.
that is.
Frigginator is asking, all the links say when.
Win a Nerdarch. He wants to know which one.
Oh yeah. I wonder if it's breaking because it. It's just where it breaks. If you click it, it should work. Well, you don't actually win a Nerdarch. There's only one Nerdarch. Me and Ted are Nerdarch, yes, and Nate is the Nerdarch. But I don't think we can we raffle Nate off, Ted?
I don't think so.
But wait a minute, there's 2 of us here. Let's call a formal meeting. We'll vote.
Well, like as a business, we could, but I think that technically falls under human trafficking, which is illegal, and I'm really not into going to jail.
We need to get Nate classified as an ogre real quick, and we can make this happen. Because there are new laws against ogre trafficking.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, so then that is for the boxes, and we are giving away the dark one because the light one looks nicer on our set.
So this box that I'm holding here could potentially be yours. Go into the chat or in the description and click the contest link and do all the things you need to do for the chance to win this box.
Actually, one of the more popular ones. That, along with African mahogany, is the two largest ones.
I think I like the darker one better. It looks nicer. But we want to keep them. We like to keep this stuff on the set, and since the set is dark, the darker one will blend in, and the lighter one kind of stands out a little bit more.
I appreciate it.
And you know, giving the nicer one away will be that much more of a gesture to whatever lucky fan gets it.
Fergal, it's so shiny.
And
that's one of the reasons
it's so
why.
Neat. And it's so unique because there's only 2 that say Nerdarchy. The other ones say Gnome Works on them. So almost exclusive.
After the Nerdarchists and Nerdarch are dead and gone, that box will probably still exist. It's made so well. It'll be our legacy. So do you have any plans for after the Kickstarter? After the fulfillment? Or are you just kind of like taking it day to day and see how things go?
That's mainly. I've learned not to the best laid plans of mice and men. So I've kind of moved away from like trying to build the business plan and moving it from there. It's just I want to get everybody got in the Kickstarter, get that done. Once that's done, I know Backer Kit. I don't understand exactly how it works yet, meaning there's a chance that I can still have kind of like a store there, even when everything is done. So I may do that on the side for right now. and then figure out, like, if I go to the convention and I get a positive, a lot of sales and different things like that, then, you know, that'll kind of be the next step. Okay, that's the next affirmation of, yes, I should move forward with this, and then go to PAX, and then kind of continue to move forward that way.
So Ed Does Everything is asking about, will you offer more customization once the Kickstarter is over, or would you? So I guess I just added addendum to that. Like, would you take custom orders if people had specifications they were interested in?
Like if they wanted to put their name or a character name on the box as opposed
Oh, that
to
stuff's already there.
That's basically already there.
My apologies.
Yeah, instead of Nerdarchy, you can put up to 10 characters approximately. So you can put a character name, or, you know, your last name, something like that. Also, you get to pick your leather now, which wasn't before, or felt colors. So if the question is, am I willing to look at, oh, I want to have a place for my miniature, I want to have 3 rows of dice, I want to have a place to hold 25 cards, something like that, yeah, I can definitely look at that. But it's probably not going to be until, you know, end of January, beginning of February, before I would even look at designing something like that. But yeah, I mean, listen, what do they always say? Customers are always right. So, I mean, you know, it's like, if you want I want to do something maybe that says, let the gnome let the gnome design your box, type thing. And then you kind of say, this is the 5 things that I want, or whatever. And then I basically design it, and then say, this is the cost. Do you want to do it? And, you know, and then we would kind of go from there.
All right, so you know, let me actually jump on that. You know, company is called Gnome Works. You're talking about the gnome designing the box. Are you really into gnomes? Is that one of your favorite, you know, races to play? Where did that name come from?
You know, the easiest way to put it is, I always think of gnomes as tinkerers.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's from, I guess, from, you know, 1E, or, you know, whatever you want to call it, basically first edition. You know, the dwarves were always stout and they built jewelry, you know. So, I mean, that's how I always looked at it. You know, the elves were always a little hooty, you know, and they're kind of little, yeah, well, you know. So, I mean, and the, what do you call it? The half orcs were always, oh, me want to kill now. So, because of that, you know, I kind of went, I'm tinkering, I'm making stuff, you know, and so Gnome came to me. I looked it up. Nobody had exactly Gnome Works for this type of product. And I thought, this is a great name. This is a great name for, you know, tinkering and making stuff and woodworking. You kind of think of that kind of artistry type. So it just kind of came to me, and I stuck with it and went and got it.
So there's plenty of folks in the chat, like throughout the chat, they really don't care about you stepping on Wormwood's toes, and they keep asking for other things like you know, dice boxes and stuff like that. I mean, you've already mentioned Wormwood, so clearly you've looked at the other ones out there. You know, Dogmite's another one that does some really wild, crazy stuff with wood and gaming stuff. So there's definitely a lot of stuff out there. So, yeah, who knows? Maybe you'll be inspired to do something in those veins that, you know, that they're not currently doing, even though they do have dice towers and stuff.
So Beamer's RQ says, you know, you could get into Starfinder because you've got, you know, hit points, resolve points, stamina points, as well as, you know, spells and the like that don't go to 9th level. So you definitely have options if you go in that direction.
Well, he's saying he would like one. So, like, that's where maybe the idea of, you know, custom orders might come in to play down the road for you. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
That will be between you and your customers, though. But like I said, like they look great. They're gorgeous. They're very, you know, very functional. And I'm already thinking, well, she's not watching. So one of my gamers has a wedding coming up next year at some point. So I'm like, this might be a nice wedding gift. And they're both gamers, so maybe like a his and a hers.
Oh no, you just get one.
They get to fight over it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so definitely nice thing. Also too, like this is kind of a premium product. So some of the things people have been asking for, you got to remember that, as you've pointed out, that the materials are expensive and it's time consuming. So that's also going to be a factor as well. Like you could make the awesome mega, wood box that carries everything for the GM, but it might cost $500. So
Right.
so
And
that's always going to be a consideration too.
That was actually originally what I was doing. I told you the story, but I didn't really go into it. The fact is I was making pieces for a very large box that was going to hold anything and everything. And so it was going to have a little dice tray, not the box, just a dice tray. I came up with some card holders that are not shown because as play testing happened, people didn't really like them that much. So I just pulled them out, They were going to, originally the trackers were going to be dividers inside the box. So, I had all this little thing, and as I was building it, I realized, no, I need to come up with a product because it just expanded and continued to be more and more costly. And I went, who's going to buy this? Okay, somebody in Saudi Arabia, but other than that, basically going to price myself out of the market. And so I didn't want to do that.
The other thing to think about too is, like, we're talking about a wooden box, right? At a certain point, it gets heavy. So it's like you need wheels or legs or something on it in order for it to get around.
Well, we have seen game masters that carry around multiple bags or boxes, crates, what have you, just to show up to, or monitors. TVs or monitors. So like there are game masters who will bring all of that stuff to an actual game. Now, I'm not saying that I want you to go with the whole treasure chest fashion to come in with wheels and what have you, but there's game masters that would do it. There's people who would spend the money for it, just be like, my stuff's better than yours.
The gaming wheelbarrow. Yeah. It's basically like almost like a dresser on a wheelbarrow. That'd be tough.
Call it like the dresser of many things or something like that. Storage of many things.
Your next big idea. Hey, I think since we've been live, you picked up a couple more backers over there as well.
Yeah, there was some that were coming through on my notices.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
So, guys, you've got 24 hours left to back Gnome Works if you want your own wooden dice box. And also, the contest is still going on, so I've thrown that in the chat a couple times. So, and it's also in the description. The link to the Kickstarter is in the description, so you guys can get all that good stuff. Someone asked, what is your favorite class and race combo?
Well, with 5e, it's probably human or half elf. But since I'm not snooty, I probably go with human. That's just stereotypical. But and I really like my my druid. And the reason why I like the druid so much is it's so versatile. But of course, I always lean toward more of a scout or kind of a thief type, just because that was my first character, and it just that was a love of mine of like running in and getting the reward without having to fight.
Nice. And that question came all the way from Ireland with Fergal. So Friginator is suggesting a hover box. I would definitely be on board for the hover box. Can we get some anti-gravity in there?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
It'd be like a Tensor's floating box.
Well, you could actually do that. You could do it with magnets. Think about it.
I don't want to think about it. You just make
it. Yeah, we just want to buy it and hover it around. Now, then I could get on board with the DM's box if I could hover. I don't even need to put anything in there. I just need to like push it around and be like, look what I got.
Fraginator says sold. Don't buy it.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So how long has this been in the making? How long have you been working on these?
it really has probably been since February. I should have gotten the Kickstarter finished and out for Gen Con, which was in August, but I had a delay of about 2.5 months that something fell through that we shouldn't have fell through, and so I had to resource some stuff. But basically, I think I put the first. I looked back and it was like almost Valentine's Day, so it was like mid-February when I originally had started this.
Well, that's actually a pretty quick transition to go from that to almost 200 people that are wanting a product to some degree or another. That's pretty excellent.
Thank you.
So,
and I hadn't really done woodworking before this, so that's
that
adds to it.
Is that from the first time when you went out and bought a router? The first time you went out and bought the router and made the thing and presented it to your player.
Yeah, I mean, if you wait a second, I can show you probably the first prototype because I still have it. I just said it's in the other room. If I'll get it real quick and show you just as something that you'll see. Hold on.
You're gonna see it here live, prototype.
So that is pretty cool to be able to see that quick of a turnaround. Less than a year before the initial concept came to a finished product that's available on Kickstarter. That's pretty awesome.
Okay. So this is number one. Here, I'll back up a little bit. This is number one. So it was a lot thinner in the middle, and then I found out that it doesn't hold the dice very well, and they kind of crowd it up. So I moved from that to an extremely ugly number two.
Now they're just pine, right? Those are just
yeah. I mean, and if you look at this, there you go. Look at that warp.
You can see the bow.
Yeah, and then basically, number three. So it started continually. Now this one I like a lot. This one was number 4, which is pretty much what it is now. But the difference is on the back, I had set it up to where you could put your 20s, then your 12s, and your 10s, and then your 6s, your 4s. So that's originally how, because some people don't put it in a row like this, they kind of do that. So that was, so I just played with it. This was originally my card holder, which anyway. So now I'm showing you all the failures.
No way, they were on your way to finding the success. They're the most important ones.
It's a journey was what it was.
So Nerdator Doug, I love this guy's enthusiasm and work ethic.
Thank you.
That's it. Yeah, like, I didn't expect us to talk so much about woodworking on the Nerdarchy live chat today, to be honest with you. I figure, we touch on it a little bit, but it is a little infectious, and it was fun to hear how much you enjoyed making these and how it came about, and some of the process stuff. Although there's been a call for stone and wood now in the chat as well. How's your stoneworking skills?
Don't know anything about it, so unfortunately,
a year ago you didn't know anything making it out of wood. So what's the difference?
One's a lot harder. I would figure stone would, of course, that's specialized tools. Blah blah blah. No, that one's something that would kill me anyway.
in the meantime, one of the fans is asking me to shave my beard and mail it to them. So no.
Oh, you could get. Have you seen the petrified woods?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've gotten stuff that's been made out of that. That's almost like stone.
Yeah. It basically
At that point, and it looks really nice as well. Man, I bet that would look really good as a dice box. Probably be a little bit easier to working with stone.
It would be a little bit heavier too.
Yeah, it would be, but it would be lighter than stone, so it'd be like in the middle. It's like a happy medium. Listen, you sit on this live chat long enough, you're gonna be making them out of rare metals.
Yeah, I want them out of titanium. It's like, okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Gold-plated titanium, please. Well, that brings us right Ted Ironwood. So Clockwood wood box. There we go. On that note, what do you want to leave our viewers with before we head on out? We're right at the hour mark.
You know,
All right,
oh, sorry.
To me or to Eric?
To Eric, he's the guest.
okay.
You're just
All right.
Ted.
Well, we'll get to you in a minute. I just want to thank everybody for their enthusiasm and supporting me on the Kickstarter. Whether you're getting just a little tracker for $15 or buying the big box, I appreciate it, and I am humbled and honored to be able to serve the community. So I'm happy.
So as Dave says, the link is down below. Go to Kickstarter. Go back your box. Get it while you still can. Typically backer kits wind up being more expensive because you got to deal with the aftermarket sales. Don't know what Eric's going to wind up doing, but
it's going to go up.
Yeah, your last 24 hours are here. It's now.
Now or never.
So go do it. Don't forget to look at the links in the chat or in the description to get your chance to win this one. It's only going to go to one person. Can it be you?
Can it be you? That is the question. And there's that link one more time in the chat. We need an unboxing video. We actually did do a Gnome video. Maybe I should put that in the chat as well. Sponsored by Gnomeworks by Eric, which we greatly appreciate. Where we showed it off and where we announced the contest for the first time. We showed it off there, and I think we probably pulled it. Oh yeah, we did pull it out in one of our recent live chats as well, and we pulled it all apart and showed it off then as well.
One of our quest and adventures, not the weekly live chat, not the daily live chat.
Yeah, the weekly, not the daily. Much different.
Yes.
So with that, guys, I want to thank everyone for hanging out with us today. I want to thank Eric for coming on. Really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out, Ted. And until next time, guys, stay nerdy.
Bye, guys.